under a false identity for the last few months in Mysore.
So to answer the first question, not just Karnataka police, even the National Investigation Agency knew about his antecedents. He had been booked under UAPA, and yet not only did he manage to flee, but like you pointed out, he managed to travel. This entire conspiracy, it seems, began on 15th of August. On the occasion of Independence Day, there was a clash in Shimoga, and there were some arrests that were carried out as violence broke out between two groups. This person, Sharik, is accused of being part of that same module which carried out the violence there. From there, let's come to Coimbatore. On the 2nd, 3rd and 4th of September, his SIM card records show that he was in Coimbatore. What was he doing in Coimbatore? Because soon after this visit, we saw that car bomb blast going off. Is there a linkage there? Then the next time that the red flag should have gone up was when that Tungabhadra case happened in Shimoga on the banks of river Tungabhadra. A trial blast was carried out, a case was registered, 2 people were arrested, but Sharik managed to give the slip even then. And then he travelled from Shimoga to Coimbatore, like I pointed out, then Nagarkoil, Ooty, Aluva in Kerala, came back to Mysuru. Now, how did he manage this? He managed this because he was faking his identity. We know about the Hubli Aadhaar card, which he had stolen, but there is evidence now coming that he duped one Surendran, a resident of Ooty, by saying that I'm a poor guy, I've lost my mobile phone, please help me. And therefore Surendran says he provided his own Aadhaar details to help Sharik procure a SIM card. In 2 other districts, he has managed to procure Aadhaar cards using this logic. Police will have to tell us what really went wrong there in their probe.
All right, Arunima, stay on with us. We're getting a piece of breaking news which is again something that Arunima is just putting out, this information that she's sharing with our viewers. The central government has now issued fresh guidelines for accepting any form of foreign hospitality, which means without prior permission from the central government, whether it's legislators, judges, members of political parties, members of parliament, can no longer accept any kind of foreign hospitality. Remember, this controversy arose after Rahul Gandhi's visit recently to foreign universities, where he had criticized the government and its policies. Let me go across back to Arunima with more details on this. Clearly, how is the government going to sort of characterize or find out what is foreign hospitality? Surely members of parliament are invited from time to time by foreign think tanks or foreign universities. If they have to get permission every time this invite comes forth, it's going to be a logistical nightmare.
Yes, but they have issued this guideline, and Government of India insists that there is nothing unusual about these guidelines, that they are updated periodically. But like you just pointed out, controversy arose when Congress's MP from Wayanad visited foreign universities, and at those events criticized the central government. Controversy has also come up when members of the left party, CPIM and others, visit say China. So the government was concerned about those. And now how do they define foreign hospitality? They're defining it under the FCRA Act of 2010 and under the FCRA regulation rules of 2011, and they have actually given a definition of foreign hospitality. It means any offer not being a purely casual one made in cash or kind by a foreign source, by providing a person with the cost of travel to any foreign country or territory, or with free boarding, lodging, transport or medical treatment. So those are the kind of hospitalities that they're categorizing under this. And then under 6, there's section 6, they're saying judges, legislators, members of political parties, none of them can accept this hospitality without taking the central government's permission. How the central government will give that permission is also detailed under section 9 of these new guidelines.
All right, we'll see how this story plays out. Clearly, the opposition would have a bone to pick on this. We'll see how this progresses politically. Meanwhile, let's go back to our guests on the big story that we're tracking about Mohammed Sharik, the man who carried out the Mangaluru blast. Of course, it was sheer providence that it blasted much before he was supposed to take it to a much more crowded locality. But the fact that he was under the radar of the agencies and still managed to give them the slip, traveling to multiple cities and, of course, resulting in what happened in Mangaluru over the weekend. Dr. Lakshmi Gowda is spokesperson of the BJP in Karnataka. Lavanya Ballal, spokesperson of the Congress party in Karnataka. Sushant Sareen, senior fellow of the Observer Research Foundation. And Shantanu Sen is former joint director, CBI. Dr. Lakshmi Gowda, this man, Mohammed Sharik, he was an accused in 2 separate terrorism-related cases, both of which he was charged on, both of which are UAPA cases. He was arrested in 2020 and then later left out on bail. How was this man able to travel to multiple cities, to Coimbatore, to Ooty, to Nagarkoil, Alua in Kerala, and then, of course, eventually living in Mysore for the last couple of months under a fake identity. This is a man accused under UAPA. Was he not under the radar of the state police and the central agencies?
Yes, sir. He was still very much on the radar of this both central and the state governments, but he has managed to fake this evidence. Government is losing no time in gaining all the information regarding how he has to manage to fake his evidence and all. So I think this is the last time it has happened, and BJP government is doing everything, and it has left no stone unturned in not repeating it again. I think this is the last time it was going to happen.
Let me ask Lavanya Ballal, is there a sense of denialism, if you will, among certain political parties and politicians in South India that there is no radical Islamist terror in South India, that people there are educated, therefore, something like this cannot happen there? Look at this case itself of Mohammad Sharik. He had links with Mubin, who died in the Coimbatore blast, and then Mubin had links with one of the bombers in the Easter Sunday bombings in Sri Lanka. The fact that even the state government of Kerala has admitted that as many as 100 people had gone for ISIS to Syria or Afghanistan over the last 10 years. This has been submitted in court. Is it time to end this denialism that there is the spread of radical terror in the south, just like there is the spread of radical terror anywhere else in this country, and that people and politicians need to stop to be in denial about it?
Good evening. First of all, it is heartbreaking. I'm a resident of Mangalore. It's my hometown. It is heartbreaking for me that time and again Mangalore has been in the news in the recent few years for all the wrong reasons. Having said that, my question is, Al Hind, the organization that he's being suspected of being a member of by both our state police and the NIA. My question is, how can he evade all the investigative agencies for 2 years? If he's using fake Aadhaar cards, aren't Aadhaar cards supposed to lead you to the right information? How can another person be using my Aadhaar card as a question? Isn't it supposed to be something that avoids these kind of situations? When you are asking me about are political organizations in denial, I don't think any organization in India, any political organization for that matter, is in denial about people harming our own national interest. For all the political parties, I'm sure the national interest comes first.
No,
and
of course, nobody is
How
doubting
come
your national interest credentials, but fact also remains that there has been overt and sometimes covert support between radical elements like PFI and SDPI and political parties. It is this sort of covert nature of support that gives people like Sharik the sort of atmosphere that emboldens them to carry out this kind of attack. And I think one question you validly asked is, how was he able to fake his identity? That's an absolutely valid question. But I think what is also concerning is people feel that because there are certain, and I'm not naming one party or another, I'm not naming any party, I'm just saying there seems to be this atmosphere where some people feel that there is deniability, therefore they can carry this out. Otherwise, what explains how he was able to travel to Coimbatore? In Coimbatore, one of his associates dies. He's the main accused in the Coimbatore blast case. He's traveling to other parts of Karnataka, Kerala, South India, and then lives under fake identity in Mysore for the last 2 months.
Exactly. The question is, if Al Hind is a terror organization, how is it even allowed to exist? How is it not wiped out in the nation from 2020 to 2022? It's a huge, a scary thing. It does not make any citizen feel safe when organizations like this are thriving in the nation, correct?
No, I want to ask Sushant Sareen. Back in September, the Shivamogga police had begun investigations into two of his associates, Maaz Ahmed and Syed Yasin, both of them under UAPA, and so was this man. He was also charged under UAPA, but somehow he slipped under the radar of the agencies. And secondly, most importantly, there was Sushant Sareen, there was a blast that happened on the banks of the Tungabhadra river, where now the police are saying in hindsight that that was perhaps a precursor to what happened in Mangaluru. Even after that blast in Tungabhadra, which is supposed to be some kind of a trial run, how come this guy was not spotted in the radar of the agencies?
Zaka, that the agencies have to answer. But I think this fellow who had been booked in here was out on bail. Now, I don't think you can blame the agencies or the government for for something that the courts have done. And I think maybe the courts also need to be held responsible and accountable for, giving bail. But I suppose this is now the order of the day, that even somebody who is alleged to have links with the ISI is allowed to stay with, relative comfort of a house arrest. Because just because he is 70 years old, it doesn't matter how
just a
many
quick
people he gets
intervention.
killed. But
The case that he got bail for was a UAPA case. My understanding
yeah,
is
so
even those people who are let out on bail, particularly if they are charged under heinous sections of the law, there is surveillance, right? I mean, they are monitored closely. Bail is also under
Zaka,
conditions, right?
Zaka, it becomes very difficult to monitor people all the time, 24/7, with the kind of resources that most of the police forces have. Number one. Number two, do we know what the bail, because I'm not aware of it. You people have people on the ground. Just check what were the bail conditions. Was there any bar put on his being able to travel? Now, if there is no bar put on his being able to travel, then he can travel pretty much everywhere. The third problem is, was the Aadhaar card, the fake Aadhaar card,
Yeah.
was it like a fabricated Aadhaar card, or was it a genuine Aadhaar card made in a fake name?
No,
On
he
that
stole
basis, you
somebody
will be
else's
able to.
identity. There is a gentleman by name Premraj Hudagi. He's a railway employee. Remember, he's a government
Yeah, yeah,
employee.
that.
This man changed the photograph, kept all the other details the same, put his mug on Mr. Hudagi's Aadhaar card, and then went around saying that he
Which
was
is
Mr. Hudagi.
which Zaka raises the question that because Aadhaar card has now become a marker of identity,
Yeah.
and in most cases what happens is that you just flash your Aadhaar card and that is good enough. Can there be, and I don't know whether there can be, because for example, if you are at the railway station or at the airport, how do you scan whether an Aadhaar card is genuine or not? How does a landlord actually manage to find out whether an Aadhaar card somebody is flashing before him is genuine or fake? Not everybody has a trained eye. So yeah, that is a problem.
Okay.
The only good thing which has happened in both Coimbatore and this particular incident is that we have been lucky. We have been lucky
Yeah.
that these guys are idiot bombers, that they have blown themselves up and burned themselves up with their bombs, and they haven't been able to hurt any innocent person or kill any innocent person. But it is a matter of serious concern. Two things. One, the questions which you are raising, that how does a person like him go out on bail and then carries on the kind of activity without any of the security agencies becoming wiser to it? One. And the second and the more important question is, was there some kind of a nexus? Right now there are only straws in the wind.
Yeah.
But was there some kind of a terror module which was operating and he was part of it? Were these individuals acting on their own, on their own volition and carrying this out? Was there a larger organization behind it? Who
No, so I want to bring
indoctrinated
in two
them? How were
aspects.
they
Now, it's
indoctrinated?
clear
I
that
think
this
I
man
think
was
those are questions which
inspired
we need to
by
be answered.
ISIS. Now, of course, I agree with Sushant. It's not possible to monitor each and every individual. And the problem with ISIS-inspired attacks is it is usually restricted to one or two individuals in each cell. But I want to bring Mr. Shantanu Sen, and please explain this to us, sir. Now the police are saying that Sharik had apparently gone to Coimbatore in early September. He was staying there in a dormitory in Coimbatore. He used another associate's Aadhaar card, an associate by name Surendran. He's under arrest. There was that blast that happened in the Coimbatore local party office of the BJP and RSS, in which a man named Jamisha Mubin, who was supposed to be the mastermind of that attack, he died. Now there are links emerging of Mubin and Sharik. Also, Sharik is said to have had contact with Mateen Ahmed Taha, who is a member of Al Hind IS, who is constantly under the radar of the agencies. How is it that two terrorists, one who died in the Coimbatore blast, this man had links with, and one who is a known IS operative, this man also had links with, and yet his name did not pop up in the radar of the agencies? It can't all be, lumped up because he was using a false identity and living under false names. Mr. Sen.
Raka, this is a case. Raga, this is a case of intelligence failure. If intelligence has failed us, then everything can happen. And it is not, this has not happened the first time. You remember the incident of Dr. Jali Sansari. He used an explosive in Nasik police station. He was caught, he was bailed out, and thereafter he made various explosives and used them intermittently all over Maharashtra, all over Pune, and also in parts of Karnataka. He was ultimately caught by the CBI when he did those 6 train blasts together in 1993, 6 December 1993. So if there is an intelligence failure, you cannot do much. The time has come for specialists, both in intelligence and investigations in the terrorist field. Terrorism is a new offense, relatively new, because if I recall, the first such incident happened in 1981 when the Sikh terrorists attacked Niranjan Singh, the secretary, and thereafter there was Atwal murder in 83. And thereafter, you know what happened in Punjab.
Yeah.
So the then Home Secretary set up a terrorist organization comprising of the CBI, the IB, and various police chiefs of North India, because then terrorism was in the North India, and there was a systematic intelligence functioning. So let me be very clear. There is a lot of anger and wrath building up.
Yeah.
Let there be no doubt about it. And the intelligent community of this area is the angry, and they will plan. They are planning with IEDs now, but they will plan with bigger things.
Yeah.
Other people will join them. So we have to look ahead, and we have to create special forces who will only tackle terrorism.
No, like I
We
said, it
cannot
is
have
sheer
people
providence
doing
that
terrorism.
this pressure cooker that exploded
Absolutely,
in Mangaluru, it happened inside an auto.
We
It
have
sort of
succeeded.
bombed earlier than what it
Exactly.
was intended
So
for.
we should be alert.
Yeah.
We should be alert, and we should start creating, as Mr. Pradhan had done when the Sikh terrorism, we created a special force. And that is how Punjab Cell came up, that is how the STF came up, and that is how the NIA has come up.
Okay.
Now the states should create special intelligence wings to deal with terrorism.
Just with
and
terrorism
they should be
alone.
permanent force.
Okay, that's a
It
fair
can't
point that
be
you've made.
slipshod.
But
Yes.
politically speaking, let me go back to Dr. Lakshmi Gowda. When you banned PFI a few months ago, and a whole bunch of their associates got rounded up, many of them are in jail. The claim that was made politically by the BJP was that this will make a huge dent to terrorism in South India. But that doesn't seem to have been the case. You had the Coimbatore blast that happened after that. You now have this case in Mangaluru. And like I said, it's sheer luck that it blasted off in the auto that he was traveling in. Otherwise, had he placed this in a crowded market or a railway station, tens of people would have died. So what happened? What happened to all those claims, Dr. Gowda? Dr. Lakshmi Gowda. Ma'am, please unmute and talk. Yeah. Dr. Lakshmi Gowda, can you hear me, ma'am? Please unmute yourself and answer the question. Okay, I don't think she has the audio line. Let me go back to Lavanya Ballal. And again, I come back to this point, Lavanya, that this has to be an apolitical issue. Terror is terror. You can't be viewing that from the prism of, Hindu or Muslim or A party or B political party. There has to be a unified approach to crack down on terror. Unfortunately, that's not what we are saying. Again, without naming any parties, I'm saying there are political parties who take a very rather soft view of what's been going on.
I disagree. I am not sure which party will take a soft corner about this. But Zakir, look at this blast happening in Kerala, for example, which is a neighboring state, and we have a very porous border with Kerala for Mangalore. Kannur, there was in Kannur on July 7th, there was a blast which killed a father-son duo. And if you look at Congress in Kerala, it had raised this question in the parliament about the connections to SDPI and, of course, a couple of times. If you look at the past few years news, there were also bomb blasts wherein RSS party, RSS workers were involved, and our leader of opposition, Satish, had raised these questions in the sessions in Kerala, questioning why the Kerala government has not been able to curb this. So I would totally say, Zaka, there's no compromise when it comes to
Okay.
security of our people and the national security. There shouldn't be as well. And
Okay.
we hope
Dr.
that this
Lakshmi
guy
Gowda is back on the broadcast. Dr. Gowda, please respond. When you banned PFI a few months ago, it was said, politically claimed, that this will make a huge dent to terror activities in South India. But we've had the Coimbatore blast after that. We've had the Mangaluru blast after that. So what happened to all those claims?
So we have banned PFI very recently. Coimbatore blast has happened much before that. And STPI, the link with STPI couldn't be erased completely, even after banning PFI. If we ban STPI also, which is having ulterior motives all the time and plots terror attacks, should be banned completely. If we ban both PFI STPI, I think we'll have effectively,
No,
we
but
can
ma'am,
curb the
who is
terrorism
stopping
in
you
its
from
forms.
banning SDPI? You run the government in the state, you run the government in the center. Please go ahead and ban SDPI.
Election Commission is an independent constitutional machinery. Election Commission has to take a stand because STPI is one of the parties. It is a registered party with the Election Commission. Election Commissioner has to take a stand regarding this. I
Okay.
think he will take a positive stand with this.
So, Shant, I'll give you the final word. How do you see this story moving? I think I keep coming back to this, that it at least puts paid to this whole theory that, those who are poor, who don't have access to education, those are the guys who end up becoming terrorists. That is not the case at all with the likes of a Sharik or a Mubin who was responsible for the Coimbatore blast. I think this has become increasingly evident now with these cases emerging in South India, that this whole bogey that poor and disenfranchised are the ones who take to terrorism, not at all.
Zaka, you're absolutely right. Somebody like me has been saying this for nearly more than a decade now. And whether it's the guys responsible for the Easter bombings in Sri Lanka from extremely rich families, I could give you at least 100,000 examples where this entire theory of the left liberal cabal falls flat. That, it's poverty, it's this, it's that, all kinds of excuses which are made to justify terrorism. Number one. Number two, I think what Mr. Sain was saying is very correct. The only problem is that when terrorism started in Punjab, you still had, the police in various states, on the same page when it comes to fighting terrorism. Let's talk about what happened in Coimbatore. What was the initial response of the state government and the local police? They tried to cover it up. They tried to say that this is some cylinder blast or something else. They were even refusing to investigate what had happened. It was only after the clamor was made that they started investigating, and suddenly it turned out that this was actually a terror plot gone wrong.
Okay.
Now, if you have situation like that in state after state, what are the state level intelligence agencies going to do? After all, you don't have IB in every nook and corner of this country. It is not possible. You can't do it. They depend a lot on the state level intelligence organizations, right?
Yeah.
Now, if your state level intelligence organizations are compromised because of the political ideology or the politics or the appeasement of state governments, then
All right.
I think this game will only be played by the terrorists and not by the law
Okay,
enforcement.
I think we'll have to leave it at that, but I am very clear about this. Issues like terrorism should not have a political approach or a political response. It has to be absolutely bipartisan, absolutely apolitical. Terror is terror, period, and we need to counter that. Let's move on to this other piece of story which is coming in, which is also an important one. The controversial Islamic preacher Zakir Naik, he's now been officially invited as a guest of the state of Qatar at the FIFA World Cup. According to social media posts, he will deliver religious lectures throughout the World Cup competition. India had banned him for hate speeches. Also, he's been accused of money laundering. His Islamic Research Foundation was also banned in 2016 for encouraging and assisting the group's members in spreading animosity. This move comes ahead of India and Qatar celebrating 50 years of diplomatic ties next year. Let's listen in and wrap with these reactions that have come on the Zakir Naik story.
A source fairly close to Qatar government has told me that the news is not correct. and that some old video is being circulated. I'm not taking a position whether it's correct or not. Let us assume it is correct. And how should India react? Well, my view is that India should not react or overreact, because Qatar has not invited this person because he is a fugitive from Indian justice system. I don't approve of the comment, but what I mean is that I have to look at it from the big picture. That is, while Qatar is trying to modernize itself under the Amir, there are others, some others, who want to stand in the way.
जाकिर नाइक को इनवाइट कर किया है फीफा के अंदर सरमन देने के लिए, जबकि वो जानते हैं कि वो बड़ा कंट्रोवर्शियल फिगर है, दुश्मनी को और हेट्रेड को प्रमोट करता रहा है, रेडिकलाइजेशन को प्रमोट करता रहा है हिंदुस्तान में। उसके बावजूद एक ये बेबुनियाद कंट्रोवर्सी को रेज़ किया है, जिससे हिंदुस्तान की सिक्योरिटी के ऊपर काफ़ी ज़्यादा खतरा आ सकता है, क्योंकि बड़े पैमाने पर यूथ जो है उससे प्रभावित हुए हैं, रेडिकलाइज हुए हैं और देश में दुश्मनी फैला रहे थे, हेट्रेड फैला रहे थे। ऐसे में कतर ने ये एक अननेसेसरी कंट्रोवर्सी को उछाल दिया है। हिंदुस्तान की सरकार जो है कतर की सरकार से बातचीत करेगी और उनसे आग्रह करेगी कि जो इसकी रिलीजियस सरमन्स हैं उनको रोका जाए।
Good evening, hello and welcome to the special broadcast. I'm Anusha Soni. A recent order by the Kerala High Court has once again sparked a debate around the need for a uniform civil code in this country. Specifically, when it comes to having a uniform age of marriage for everyone, irrespective of religion. Now, to marry off a child below 18 years of age is an offence under POCSO in this country. Child marriages are prohibited in this country, and individuals, anyone facilitating such marriages, is liable to be prosecuted. However, all these penal provisions are somehow put aside and they've somehow put under the question the moment it's about the marriage of underage Muslim girls. The reason? The Shariat practice of girls becoming eligible for marriage upon attaining puberty under Islamic law, a law that finds some degree of legal protection in this country. All thanks to the 1937 Shariat Application Act and certain judicial pronouncements that protect personal laws, sometimes at the cost of fundamental rights. But when it comes to a uniform age of marriage and setting a standard for all communities, arguably this is a matter outside the scope and precinct of personal law in this country, because it squarely falls under the teeth of certain criminal provisions designed to protect the child rights. While this is an argument before the Supreme Court, the matter is still pending the final word to come from the top court of the country. But in 21st century India, should a progressive, liberal democracy like ours permit the marriage of underage Muslim girls? Our top focus.